Hey, what's up, guys? It's MC11 here, and today I'll be talking about why I just dislike this season, especially compared to last season. And in the background will be this game that I played, a pretty good one. I decided to drop near Snooty and the Seaside Villa. So, so I was originally planning to drop the villa, but I saw someone who seemed pretty good dropping there. So I decided to wait. Alright, so let's get to the point of the video. Now, I dislike the season because of it's always repetitive. To where if you drop Grim Gate or any medallion place in a solos game, then about 50% of the time you'll die and with like 2 or 3 kills because it's so contested this season. Well, when you dropped Reckless Railways or Fencing Fields last season, it just wasn't as contested because if you got 3 kills, you would basically be done, and there's still a chance. There was still a chance that you were uncontested at Reckless Railways, Fencing Fields, uh, especially especially uh, place in the mountains. Especially at Grand Glacier. And but now at Groom Gate, and the only place that you can sometimes be uncontested at is Brawler's Battleground, but that is very rare, and that's usually just in squads or trios. So so you it's part of it is just getting dying off spawn a lot when you're actually trying to get a mythic from fighting a boss, and that makes it so you always want to drop somewhere uncontested. And like for example here, so you and uh so another thing I dislike about it is that they didn't add any new POIs without medallions. I was really hoping they would add a new POI or two that's kind of like Rebel's Roost or something like that, where it doesn't have a medallion, but it might have a mini boss. And they also removed the yacht for like no reason at all, which is another reason I dislike it. Another thing is that at the beginning of the season, the Zeus's lightning bolt was really overpowered. I mean, it wasn't overpowered, but it was pretty OP because they could spray you, and I feel like whenever I used it, I would always get sprayed and I'd die. But then whenever another person used it, they would absolutely destroy me. But then they made it so it couldn't shoot through builds, and that completely made it worse. And I think what they should have done instead of that was make it a lot rarer, like something you could only get from blue chests, or you could make it something like getting a legendary, so you could get that. But the problem is, I wouldn't be too happy to get that out of blue chest instead of like a gold sniper. So yeah, and another thing that I dislike about this season is that I mean, I know they were never going to keep the bosses like Peter Griffin and them, but it would be pretty epic if they kept them. So then we had 8 metabolism bosses, or not metabolism, bro, medallion bosses. So there's no way I just said that. Medallion bosses, and so yeah, and there's plenty of POIs that are just contested because you think they're going to be uncontested. And that's annoying. Because there are some specific drop spots that are a lot better than others. And that's like fencing fields and then just random drop spots in the middle of nowhere. And like stuff like fencing fields. And Reckless Railways is alright. I mean, if you could have seen the video where we ranked Reckless, it didn't do too well. I got 2 kills at the beginning, maybe even 3. But then I just died because a sweat pushed me. Well, it wasn't a sweat, but it was good. It wasn't bad. And yeah. So it's like there's not much of a point to drop. It just doesn't feel like there's a point to drop at one of the bosses because they're always contested. They're like always contested. And it's just so annoying because you're like, last season, I think I went and got a couple rounds of solos where I just landed like one of the most contested spots, like Reckless Railways or um or maybe Fencing Fields or Snooty Steps, and it was not contested. But there's never rounds in this season where you are uncontested. And it wasn't like, I'm not just saying it to say it, because I understand that they should have been contested. But last season I had a bunch of rounds where I was uncontested at Grand Glacier, and that's like crazy because Grand Glacier had a boss. And yeah. And also another thing I want to highlight is how easy the bosses are this season. Cuz like you're not stressed about running around through uh Lavish Layer because you don't want to get Oscar to notice you and the other people, and then they'll start shooting at you. They'll give away your location, and then something like that, like where they'll just uh have reckless railways or something. They will just down your health, and then someone's gonna push you and uh and kill you. But now the bosses are pretty easy because you can just decide not to spawn one. And even if you do spawn one, there's different stages, which is a lot easier than every stage at once. And I mean, that's like, it's a lot easier. Because if you're fighting the wolves there, then oh my god, it's so easy to fight the wolves. Like, you might take 20 damage from the first wave, and maybe you'll take 40 damage from the next, bringing your grand total to 60. And last season, it was possible to die from bosses. Like, really possible to die from bosses. Like, you aren't. It's not just like you make a tiny mistake and you'll die to. Or it's not just like you'll make a big mistake and then or a mistake and then you die to Oscar, whoever boss is, Peter Griffin. You might just be playing it normally and you just die to the bosses because you didn't see the boss, and then it just starts shooting you from behind. Because last season I used to be down. There used to be a reason they drop like Flowberry Fizzes and big pots, and like 2 big pots to get your shields full and med kits. Because now this season those are just like an added bonus to the boss because you're only losing about 60 HP max, and you definitely probably shouldn't be fighting the boss if you have less than 60 HP, or less than 61, I guess. So yeah, that's another reason why I dislike this season. Wait, all right. So uh, I just think another thing that should be in next season is just like a big, large POI that is at the center of the map, kind of like Mega City, cause um, cause that would just be cool, and I just think that sounds kind of fun, and I just think that it's kind of boring with just one drop spot this season. Because last season, my drop spot was mainly the yacht, but a lot of people liked landing in the underground area because there was a bunch of blues and purples that you could get, and even legendaries if you're insanely lucky. Um, and you could have an entire loadout that would be good for fighting players at the very end if you felt like it. So then you could do that, and there's like a vault on the yacht with an easy boss. It's not a hard boss, but that's not the point because there's only 1 or 2 blue chests maximum. I guess there could be 3 because, yeah. And the yacht is normally uncontested, although it can be contested by one or two players. And I also another thing I dislike. I was excited to like have the thing with Midas the whole season. Literally, Midas had like was in the game with its mythic for like half a week and was in with the legendary for like the first half of the week. So like um so like I thought that was gonna be a huge part of the season, but literally he got replaced with Brutus like 2 weeks later, where he where then like another well no like a week later, and then after that it was after that the after that they just removed the yacht entirely, which I hate because the yacht's actually kind of fun to land. And um yeah, it mostly I think the yacht was also partly fun because you would have a challenge because it would usually be one or two real players going against you in solos, or like four real players in squads. So you'd have yourself a challenge, but it wouldn't be like Grim Gate where you're destined to fail and you're basically forced to probably not. You're kind of like forced to not play the rest of the game because if you get in a sticky situation there isn't like a specific way to run away. I guess the three skulls help you run away, so it's not entirely that, but it's just like it's a little weird because uh you it's just like because the yacht was my drop spot for a little bit this season and a lot of last season, and yeah. And they also just removed some features I liked. Like you used to be able to duel like a couple NPCs, but now you can only duel like one. And I guess you could shoot at it, but I mean shooting at it's fine, but like it's just not the same as having like a duel down like at Snooty Steps. Or yeah. And also people were hyping up like this season uh to have uh to have like fencing fields and all those maps burning because of like the Jonesy getting peely. Um and I was just disappointed when I found out that there was not going to be any ranked skins. I mean, not like I was going to get I don't think I was going to get one last season. Why did I just sit there? Oh, it's cuz I was accepting the party invite. Um so yeah. And end games this season are also quite easy. Because last season, you had like specific strategies. Like I used to car camp like a ton. Like I'd literally car camp and not drive. I'd literally just sit in one, which I'm trying this game because I want to see if it's working still. But I literally sit there, not move the car until zone forces me to go. And yeah, and it's hard to die to storm. Well, this isn't like specifically this season, but it's like never mind. Forget what I just like last said. That was a stupid thing. But there's a lot more camping this season than last season. So it's a lot easier to win games cuz if you just like walk into a bush like you saw you might have seen the video where I dropped, I believe, fencing fields or restored reels. I was fighting in the end game and I just needed to heal up, so I walked into a bush where I saw a guy camping and I just hit him once. Because that's just so easy. Because if you just walk into that bush at the right time, then you're guaranteed the win. Because he had no time to react. Like I sat there for a second or two, and he didn't turn around or nothing. He just yeah. And it's also a lot easier, at least for me this season, to get high kill games because I feel like there might even be more bots. Sorry about this. This is kind of like me going to the side area because even though there was a lot of bots last season, everyone knows that. But I feel like people are saying that in this season there wouldn't be a lot of bots compared to last season where there were a ton of bots, and that's just wrong. There's like the same amount of bots, if not a lot more. Then yeah, and and the problem with landing Brawler's Battleground, and it's the same thing as Grand Glacier last season. Because if you want to fight the boss, then at Brawler's Battleground, then you'll have to do it quick because you'll have to have a couple like green or blue weapons at best, maybe a purple, and you'll have to fight the boss quickly. Like you'll have to go as fast as possible, defeat the minions, and then defeat the guy. So yeah, because it's the same thing as not Reckless, Grand last season, Grand Glacier. But Grand Glacier was harder because Brawler's Battleground, you technically don't have to spawn the boss, and a lot of games no one spawns the boss because it's just not worth spawning if Zone is already pulling your way because you're not gonna kill the boss in time, and it's like it's just like not as fun because especially at Grand Glacier, you could die to the boss because you could get shot at from above, and I for some reason could never notice when I was actually getting shot at by the boss or where the boss was. Like I'd go up a floor, I'd be like, okay, yeah, the boss isn't on this floor, and it's not on the next either, and it's like right on the beginning of the next floor, and yeah, so that's part of the reason why I just dislike this season. All right. So the last reasons are pretty simple. I mean, the new weapons are just mid. Cause I mean the AR, or not the AR. I like the new. I like the new SMG, but it's definitely not as good as the Thunderburst. So it's really just not worth using. And I also do like, or well, I'm fine with the new shoddy. Um, that's just preference, honestly. I prefer it to the hammer pump, but I just don't like it. Like I definitely choose a frenzy auto over it just because it's better. Like a frenzy auto is most definitely better than the other one, than the whatever you call it, gatekeeper. Um, so the the drum gun, well, okay, so the drum gun is, it's just, ugh, I it's bad, and especially when they vaulted the mythic one, because you'll rarely find a legendary, like very rarely. The mythic one was decent because it had the scope, and with scopes they're all right, but ugh, like without a scope it's just so bad. And if you um if you if you use the AR, the Warforged assault rifle, then you know that the like whatever you call it, like the knockback thing is crazy. It's just like it'll mess up your aim completely unless you have a thing that makes it less like that. And uh I mean, it's just not as good because of that. And uh it's like um it's just like not my favorite with the weapons. And the chug splashes are pretty good. I do like that. That's one thing I can say is a plus from this season. But I don't know. Definitely, in my opinion, not as good as last season. I mean, last season was all right. It wasn't the greatest ever, but it was decent. Um, and you can the Avatar collab. I like how they have a Avatar collab. It's kind of fun, but it's the airbending is just oh, it's so good for. It's really good for movement. It's like the only movement that's worth using anymore. If you find it, you're not gonna need another movement, and there's a good chance that you're not gonna drop it. Like a great chance you're not gonna drop it. And it's really well. I guess it was pretty easy to do this last season, but it's really easy to third party. It's really easy to third party. So then you can literally just, I'm kind of showing you in this because I third partied them in their fight, and this guy is super low. I can already tell he's about 60 at best, and then he dies, so I get an assist in solos. Um, and then this guy just fires at my car. Um, so it's super easy to kill someone if you have a car. Um, I'm not like it's not easy to kill someone, but it's easy to get an advantage that could easily win you the fight. Like you don't, there's no disadvantage um of having a car at the beginning of the fight and hitting them. So I try to piece him. I get in storm and then I win. It's just so easy to third party this season. Part of it. I do like the item shop. That is one thing that I can take away that I enjoy. By the way, thank you so much for watching. If you like the opinion, well, yeah, cool. Thank you.